Indigenous games and sports of Tripura. The topography of Tripura, climate and nature of the society continuation are important that has taken place for games and sports. Aboriginal and different tribes of their societies had a rich diversity of games and sports in past time. Indigenous games and sports are very popular from the Yayati dynasty. It's near about 5,000 years in the Tripura kingdom. At present, in the state of Tripura, there are 19 clans in different subcastes living in this tiny state of Tripura. Basically, the indigenous people, they survive their life by jhum cultivation. They face so many struggles in the life, in the wild, in the caves and jungles from the beginning. They go hunting in the jungle by bow and arrow, stone, gangla, and invented fire, etc. Here is a list of games. Kaldam or Kadeng. This is a pleasured game of the Tripura children's youth, basically for the boys. They played these games by wearing different colors of traditional attires for their identification. Kaldam or Kadeng is usually used to walk during the rainy season to avoid the clay and muddy fits. After observing for decades, it has been promoted as a game. The Kaldam or Kadeng is a game of running, walking competition, picking up a needle from the ground and fighting with another fellow one. Holding one leg when another leg will remain lifted in position and showing their skills by adapting different postures like Surya Namaskara by standing in a place for 10 to 15 minutes without moving. It can also be called a balancing game. Basically, for playing of these games, two equal size of wathi, molly bamboos are required, minimum 6 to 7 feet of length, and of this bamboo lower part about 2 to 2.5 feet above the ground. Two small pieces of bamboos are fixed tightly for placing the feet. Each of the track on the feet would be 2.5 to 3 meters wide and 25 to 30 meter distance and 15 to 20 meters length. Red ribbons are tied and they are required. Half sleeve and dhoti traditional attires are worn during this fight. Pansolaima. The Pansolaima game is like a wrestling. The ancestors used to play after cultivation during the handoff. This used to be among the youthful strength of villagers. The villagers called them often concerning any occasions, functions of the village and invited them to consider them as chamari or hamchuk. This game is played forming a pair of two men or women between the villagers to test their strength. A size of thin bamboo 3 to 4 meter long for stagging legs and 2.5 to 3 feet long for pulling, and a half sleeve with rignai or risa of the traditional attires were worn. The game is played in knockout basis among the youth, both men and women, as first pair, second pair and third pair respectively. They sit on the ground facing each other by spreading their legs. Pandagalaima. This game is one kind of wrestling. The player will be dressed in traditional attire. It is played among the youths of Tripura people for checking youthful of the village with satisfaction. It is played between two young men to test their strength. In a circle, 3 parallel lines are drawn, and in the middle, halfway, and both sides of the middle drawn line, small ones. A size of thin bamboo 3 to 4 meters long for pushing, and a red ribbon tied in the middle of the piece of the bamboo for identification of the position. Togla Talai or cockfight. The game is known as Togla Talayu in native Tripura language. It is played between two boys. They pretended to fight with each other like a roaster. It's to be mentioned here that the competitors or the boys must be wearing half sleeve of the traditional attire during the fight. They make a boundary in the courtyard or the plain land. All participants assemble in the arena. Every contender holds his ankles by bending one leg at the knee and holds backside with another hand. Thereafter, one dashes another by jumping on a single leg. At the time of dashing, if anybody's leg slips from the grip or falls and crosses the boundary, he is declared disqualified. The Tripura children call this game Togla Talayu. Badul Khung Kokma. In ancient times, the Tripuris used to live in caves. For their livelihood, they go out hunting for animals. This is done daily to make their life and their living among the Tripuris for food. Hunting is a practice in which a certain animal is killed like deer, pigs, etc. After which, they enjoy eating together in the community. Nowadays, it is very much popular all over the world, known as archery. Bow and arrow shoot on the target point is in a distance. This game is basically played among the youths. It's just like archery. It is played with badul. The badul is made up of mud in a round shape. This badul is used in place of arrows. It is played with badul or padul. It is to be mentioned here that it is used for hunting birds in a jungle. Badukhung Kokmani or archery. The Tripuris live in caves, then they used to go hunting in the wild for animals, in most commonly done by the primitive groups of Tripuri for food. In a distance, a target point is fixed for the player who is participating in the game. They lined up in a queue and then one by one come targeted to the score and retrieve their arrows. Target archery is the most popular form of archery in which archery competitions may be held indoor or outdoor. Outdoor competitions normally consist of several distances for list of a tournament round. It's used to hunting purpose. Now it is converted into as international games. It is known as archery. Wasusamo. There will be two moly bamboos. One will be 50 feet with 8-inch diameter. The other will be 1.5 length with 1 foot diameter. It is like a pipe. The playing point will be marked with line 4 feet around the post. Both the bamboos should be prepared smoothly. The small bamboo has to be entered inside the big bamboos, which length is 1.5 feet with 1 foot diameter. Then the small bamboo will have to install 3 feet into the ground tightly in the middle of the circle. The pipe-like bamboo will stand over the ground. There will be marks in 2 points at a distance between 40 and 45 feet end of the small long bamboo which is standing over the ground for identifying the position among the competitors. A long bamboo is placed on the ground horizontally. Apart from the bamboo, 7 pieces of bamboo split are taken. A person takes up the bamboo slits in his hand and jumps around the bamboo and drops the slits after a jump. Likewise, he has to pick up the slits going on jumping around the bamboo. But it needs to be mentioned here that this game is not popular and not common among all the Tripuris. Mustasaglayo. This game is played between two individuals to test their strength of wrist. A stick of the diameter of a grip is fixed on the ground, keeping the length above the ground just to provide two grips of the two hands of the contenders. Each contender grips the stick firmly by his hand, and while one tries to pull out the stick, the other presses it down to keep the status quo of the stick. The one who succeeds in his efforts wins the trial. Kobong Tisao. This is a traditional weightlifting game among Tripuri youths. This game is played between two men. These two men weigh in the same category, and after which they lift each other to ensure their strength. This is the game of testing one's strength. One who can lift another for the maximum time is credited as winner. Sukui Thungmani. The Tripuri children and youths are very fond of these games. They used to play this game with the seeds of a wild creeper bean, the sukui. The seeds are flat and of a round shape. The color of the seed is brown with a patch of black. To play this game, a clean plain land is required. A parallel line is drawn on one side of the field. Within this line, the sukui or the seeds are set in vertical position, maintaining distance of 2 inches between them. Another parallel line is drawn at a distance of 6 to 7 cubits from the previous drawn line. They call it the line of Damsa. From the line of Damsa, another line is drawn. They call it Damnai. The normal distance between the Damsa and Damnai is about 3 steps. The number of players in this game is not fixed. This game can be played between 2 to 3 groups of people or more. The number of players or groups depend upon the number of the sukuis. For example, if low number of the sukuis are taken, 2 number of sukuis are to be set on the line. The other 2 then remain. In this case, if the number of players are 4, they divide themselves into 2 groups. Among the 4 players, 2 are put in each group with these 2 bins. The players of both the sides are to strike the bins kept erect on the line. 5 steps are required to complete this sukui game. The steps are Damsa, Damnai, Sukui Murku, Yachak, and Karekhang. At the line of the play, the player is to grip the bin or the sukui with his thumb and forefinger to strike the target by throwing sukui with right hand through the gap created by holding the toe of the lifted right leg with the left hand, bending down his body. Here, a restriction is imposed. If the player can strike the sukui or the bin set erected on the line by the bin held in his hand, he will only be accepted when the bins of the line comes to a stop at least at a particular distance. This initial stage of the game is called Damsa. If the game takes place between two individuals, if a player fails to strike the pins kept on the line, then his opponent turns comes. Or if the game is played between 2 or 3 parties, and if a player of a party fails to strike the pins, the other players of the swan group attempts serially to strike the pin. Khori. This traditional game is played by both children and adults. This game can be played by any number of people. This is so popular among the girls and are played among the youths of indigenous women. They are played in the corridor or a room by groups. It may play single or team and partners as a wish of a folk of the women. Bongbarai Birma. This game is played by the indigenous children, those who entered the age of 8 to 12. They were treated eligible to play in traditional attires with soft cotton cloths. Equipment required for these games are one wooden pole near about 4 to 5 diameter base and 8 to 9 feet height, and a piece of soft cotton cloth 2 to 2.5 meter long. The rules of the games: firstly, the wooden pole put in ground upright minimum 2 to 2.5 feet deep and one leg on the contender. Bongbarai or the honeybee binds with cotton cloth to the wooden pole tightly backward position and other legs as it is open. That is the preparation of this game, like 7 to 10 minutes required. After the contender flew upright his body and hands straight, horizontal and body like a honeybee. That's why the game is called Bongbarai Birmani, meaning honeybee fly game. Like this, one by one contenders shows their skill as if they are flying. Chur or top or biblet. It is played only by the boys group. For this game, it is required 2.5 to 3 meter small coir rope and a chur. The chur or the top made from a piece of wood cut in a shape. The chur is a game that involves spinning a wooden chur or the top, which has grooves in its lower half and a nail at the bottom is now modified as top. Nowadays it is called the biblet. It is played to spin the chur or the top. A 6 string is wrapped around the groove of the lower half, and pulling the string makes the chur or the top spin in a circle, minimum 6 to 7 meters on a lawn. Numbers of players stood in a circle. 3 to 5 boys throw the chur inside the round circle at a time, whose chur strikes one by one and is still spinning without failing until the last one is the winner of the game. The indigenous game was played using a thick oval chur or the top or the biblet made by wood. Values of these games and sports. Physical fitness is considered to be important to the life of children and adults. Games are often played for fun, enjoyment, and self-satisfaction. Fair play is encouraged, and winning is not always the important goal. Respecting the physical abilities, respecting the physical abilities, both skilled and unskilled, of others is important. The opportunity of teaching others makes you patient and refines your skill. Features of the Indigenous games. Indigenous games provide a reliable framework for enjoyable play as well as opportunity for creativity and exploration. Many games were played on special occasions such as religious ceremonies and initiation rites or during periods of inactivity. Games were often played by adults with children to share the fun as well as teaching them skills needed for adult roles. Many of the games involved showing one or more aspects of physical fitness. Many of the skills and techniques essential for survival were learned and perfected through the playing of the games. Several games were almost universal while many others were limited to a small group of people or a region. Games range from the minor activities of children to more significant sporting occasions. The informal organization was a common feature and games were often learned through watching and not instruction. The games were commonly associated with simple and unwritten rules. Games illustrate a dependency on tradition.